Welcome to the Wild Nutrition Podcast. I'm your host, Chris Heskett, and this is another episode of Unapologetic Fridays. I believe this is episode 30, so we are 30 episodes into the Wild Nutrition Podcast. And if you're new to the podcast and don't know how Unapologetic Fridays go, this is raw, unedited. I'm going to set a timer, and you're probably going to hear my dog in the background running right now because she has jingles. So I'm going to set a timer for 15 minutes. Today's topic is going to be a little bit shorter. I'm also a little bit crunched on time, so we might actually be under the time today. Might be the first one that's actually about 10 minutes, but I'm going to set the timer for 15. Today's topic is stop being soft. Also, a reminder, if this is your first time listening and you're in the car with kids, I'm going to drop a few F-bombs. So just to let you know, now you know, give you a second, turn it off if you did. Cool. Let's fucking go. So stop being soft. What I mean by this is doing hard things in your life improves your life. It's weird, but the more difficult things you do, the happier you actually become. So a great example of this is if you think back of like your favorite stories, think back to like stories you tell your kids or your loved ones, things you do that in the moment they weren't that fun, but they now make a great story. And you're like, oh my God, this great, amazing memory. Like the memory you have now is a little bit nicer than what it probably actually is. And so, for example, like for me, some of the hunting stuff, like some of that shit's miserable, sitting out for hours in the cold, nothing else around, but it's like, oh my God, it's so much fun. Because honestly, it is when it actually all comes together. But someone, I believe it's Steven Rinella always says, the worst kind of fun, like there's different levels of fun, and the sucky fun is the best. The cheap fun, like a roller coaster, like, yeah, it's great, it's fun in the moment, but you're not going to remember that a year or 2 years from now. Like, I love roller coasters. Do I remember every single ride I've ever done? No, I have done a lot. I've been on many roller coasters, but I don't remember all of them. But I will remember backpacking in college while it's pouring down rain and it's fucking miserable. It literally poured down rain for the entire middle day when we had to hike like 10 miles, like hiking the most. And everything was wet. Like, oh my God. If a sane person would be like, I'm never doing it again. I'm like, when can I get out and go backpacking this year? So it was like day one was great. Day two was complete rain out. Like I have a picture and we're all soaking wet. Everything's wet. Water got everywhere. And then day three is like way better. So that's where it's like, that was hard. That was miserable. And that was actually fun. What? So we want to do it again. And this is, if you've never read the book Comfort Crisis by Michael Easter, I highly recommend you go and read that book or listen to it. I did it on audiobook, and I believe I have it now behind me on my bookshelf in a hard copy. I believe I do, because I reference it a lot because it goes over this. Most of our lives are artificial. They're air conditioned, like heated. You never have to swing outside the comfort zones of like 68 to 72 degrees. Like you live in a house and you go to work and we complain when I'm under an air vent and it's like 55. Like you don't have to deal with being outside for the most part. Many of you listening don't have to deal with being outside in 100-degree weather for 8+ hours. Or for freezing cold weather. And I remember this with when I worked in the gym, and it's a warehouse gym. There's no air conditioning, barely any heating. And go in and it's fucking cold. Like people come in like, oh my God, it's miserable. And we just got so used to it as coaches. Like the cold, like, yeah, you just get used to it. Or the heat, like people come in, oh my God, it's so hot. Like, yeah. Guess what? I'm going to be here for another 10 hours. I'm going to work out in this during the hottest part of the day because that's when clients aren't there at like 2 p.m. Yeah. Adapt, learn. But and this is one thing where I was in that. So for me, it was just like, you just have to struggle through and your body gets used to it. But most people avoid that discomfort. You're going to avoid it because it's uncomfortable. And when we look at what happens to the body when you put yourself in discomfort, it makes you really want to get uncomfortable. So what I mean by this is when you go and you actually put some sort of stress on the body, some discomfort, heat, cold, exercise, it actually makes you stronger. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Within reason. Always within reason. You actually have to adapt to it. So for example, burning your hand with heat would not make your hand stronger. That's not going to adapt to you, but being in an infrared sauna will. So the stress response, when you go through that, the stress response to whatever stress you are experiencing in your life is the exact same. Your body doesn't know the difference between you going to the gym, your commute off to work, and the traffic's terrible, and there's someone got in an accident, and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to be fucking late, and I have this meeting later that I have to prepare for, and now I'm not going to have as much time as I thought. I'm going to have to cram this, or being chased by a saber-toothed lion. The stress response is exactly the same. Now, knowing this, most people are overstressed. And this is the number one thing I talk about with clients all the time, stress, because managing it is so important. But when you can actually manage and control your stress, you end up having this power over it that most people just like leave to the wind, and they let stress control their lives rather than understanding how stress works and using that to their advantage. So you put yourself into a stressful situation, like a workout, where the stress is applied and then it's removed, which is the normal stress response. Then when you give yourself enough time to recover, most people just think of exercise, which is the easiest thing you should do for getting yourself moving forward with this conversation. This is primarily just focus on exercise, because I don't talk about exercise enough on this podcast. It's usually mindset and nutrition. So when you go and you exercise, you're going to create a stress response. Not only do you train your muscles, not only do you train your heart and your lungs and everything else, but you are actually training your nervous system to better adapt and be resilient to the stresses of life that are going to happen down the road. So over time, you become more and more resilient as long as you let your body recover. So if you're just starting out, going in and doing hard workouts 5 days a week, your body isn't adapted to responding to stress that frequently. You don't have enough recovery time, and you probably have stress elsewhere in your life. It's not like it's a stress-free life and you're going in and you just have one thing. If you manage everything, or you're starting out, sorry, let's backtrack there. So if you're just starting out 3 times a week, and then you can increase it over time and you become more and more resilient. And again, like I said, stress response is the same. So not only are you improving your performance in the gym, but you are going to improve all aspects of your life, because when a stress response hits you, you're going to be able to, it's not going to cause as much stress to you, or you're going to be able to take on a higher stress load without the negative side effects, without getting burnt out, without getting sick, without getting injured. You're going to be able to do those things. And it starts with exercise. For most people, it starts with exercise. It's the one thing you can do to make yourself uncomfortable most days of the week and make everything better. That's why a lot of people, so when we're talking stress response, so I did this in the Hormone Masterclass. So someone who is adapted to stress, someone who works out, they work a 9 to 5, they do all the things, they have kids, and no offense to stay-at-home moms, I understand your job is difficult. I've worked with many of you over the years, so this isn't necessarily a dish on you, but I've seen it before where literally like you also have like a very wealthy stay-at-home mom, like you also have people helping you out, and the husband takes on everything. So I'm going to use that as an example. That's not a dish to all stay-at-home moms, but one person A gets their workout in. They have to wake up super fucking early to do that. Then they go to their high stress job, but they manage that. Then they come home, they have kids, which automatically is a stress. And then there's all the other things with life, but they seem to have their shit together. The stay-at-home mom never has to really worry about anything. And then all of a sudden, like, oh my God, I can't wake up early for that. Oh my God, like I can't do, like I just have so much, because they've never had to force their body to adapt and become resilient to stress. Just adding the smallest stressor to their life causes things to crumble. So even more extreme thing would be like a trust fund person. And you're like, they literally have like all this money in the world. How could they be stressed out? And it's because they haven't adapted, and their nervous system literally can't handle the smallest amount of stress. They just crumble because they're not used to it. So you just load them up with stress and crumble. So that's why exercise is so important. You see a lot of times exercisers are really high performers in many areas of their life. A lot of entrepreneurs exercise. A lot of more and more now, especially as it's become more mainstream and the benefits are becoming more well known with exercise, you're seeing higher level project managers, CEOs, etc., working out, because one of the benefits is they can better adapt and control the high stress situations of their life, which you can take on because we all have stress we're dealing with. And exercise is that solution. It's the one thing that everybody can do. You can start doing squats, push-ups, and planks in your apartment, house, living area right now without any weights. You can go for a walk. Everybody can basically do that who listens to this podcast. You can start on that and make yourself uncomfortable. And it's about making yourself uncomfortable. This is why when I talk to some people about taking action, they've always avoided conflict, avoided uncomfortable situations, and you put them in there and then their anxiety goes through the roof and they just like melt down. Like it's that fight, flight, or freeze. They just like freeze up and you're like, why did you do? Their nervous system literally can't handle it because it's never had to. And so you force them to make a decision and then they just like freeze up and you're like, what the, how have you made it through life this far? And that's the power of exercise. Outside of all the other health benefits, it will make your nervous system better adapted, so long as you will give it time and allow for recovery. If you force it every single day, you're like, okay, Chris said this, so I'm going to go and I'm going to work out 6 days a week, super hard. Plus you have all the other stress in your life. Yeah, fuck that. That's not going to fucking work. You're going to burn yourself out. Your nervous system takes time to recover. In fact, it takes more time to recover than your muscles. So you're like, okay, I'm not sore. I can do another hard workout. No, it's going to take like 48 to 72 hours for your nervous system to fully recover, or longer sometimes, depending on the intensity. So it takes time, which is why you need those recovery periods. Why I don't advocate for working out hard every single day of the week. That's really bad. You're going to get burnt out. You're going to get sick, or you're going to get injured, or a combo of those things. The other things you can do to force difficulty, especially the days you're not in the gym, you can do something that's uncomfortable, such as like foam rolling, soft tissue work that's uncomfortable. Doing things like that, or doing deep breathing like box breathing, where, yeah, sometimes it feels like you're almost suffocating, but it's a very controlled environment. Ice baths, cold showers, or saunas are other things where you're pushing your body out of its comfort zones. And that allows for it to adapt. And because it's controlled, again, when done safely, that's the key term. When done safely, there's no danger, and you are forcing, your mind is forcing you to do something. You're forcing your body to go through something when it's screaming like, it's fucking cold, get me out of here. Or if you're doing like box breathing, I'm suffocating, breathe regularly. Or if it's sounding like, it's too fucking hot, we're going to cook, get the fuck out. When the body's screaming that, but you know that you're going to be fine, and you just push through, you realize, hey, I survived. And so then the next time you do it, it's not nearly as bad. I'm getting back. I fell off with the cold, my ice bath, but I'm getting back to it. But the first time I did it, I had anxiety. I'm like, this is going to suck. It's going to be cold. Like I hated like getting into like a cold lake or the cold ocean as a kid. Like this is going to blow. Hated that shit. So I'm like, oh my God, I'm having all these memories as I'm like getting ready. And side note, totally not making it under 15 minutes because we just passed it. There's the timer. But I hated that shit. So the first time I had all this anxiety around it, and I just like forced myself in. And literally it was like, I'm just going to make it like 2 minutes. And 2 minutes happened. I'm like, one more minute. 3 minutes. I'm like, one more minute. 4 minutes. I'm like, one more minute. I'll make it to 5 minutes. 5 minutes, I got the fuck out. But I worked up to 10 minutes at like 38 or 40 degree water temps. So it wasn't that bad. And then each time, like, it was actually like, holy shit, like I feel amazing afterwards. Did it suck? Yes, it sucked. Don't let anyone tell you that it doesn't initially suck. That's the whole point of it. To suck and be challenging. Same thing with cold showers or any of the other things I went over. The point is to challenge your body, to force it to adapt so that when it experiences any stress in the future, it is stronger and more resilient. And that carries over into other areas. And that's the important part of all of this. You're like, why would I do a cold shower? Especially when like the fat burning and other benefits are like iffy. Well, it makes you a tougher human. Do you have to do it? No. You absolutely do not have to do it. You could do just exercising and be fine. But if you want to do something every single day that's challenging, you're not going to go to the gym every single day. And you can't do challenging workouts every single day. You have to recover. That's one way to do it. Or maybe it's a sauna. Or maybe it's foam rolling where that's uncomfortable. Doing uncomfortable things makes you a more resilient human being. You will be more adapted to stress. And that's the importance of exercise. Yeah, the other benefits are great. When it comes to weight loss, exercise is overrated. Way overrated. Is it important? Yes. But you can't out-exercise a bad diet. You have to diet. But going through a diet's also uncomfortable. Successfully going through a diet is fucking hard. We can make it easier. But at some point, there is a level of suck that is involved with that. And you kind of just have to embrace that suck. You want to make your body change. Your health and fitness is really the one thing you can't buy in life. Like no matter how much money you make, you cannot truly buy a healthy body and a fit body. Can you mask it with medications, pills, plastic surgery? Yes. But if I get pec implants to have a massive chest like Arnold, they don't actually function properly. It's just implants. If I get quad implants because I want bigger quads, that doesn't mean I have stronger legs. They're going to weigh me down. In fact, I'm probably going to hurt my ability to perform exercises. If I get liposuction but don't change my lifestyle, well, guess what? That's going to come back. So can you temporarily buy some of this stuff? Yes. Is it a permanent solution? Absolutely not. And even if you buy liposuction, that doesn't change the fact that in your blood or the other areas of your body, that stuff hasn't changed. So congratulations, you lost some body fat. Maybe there's some health benefits to removing it that way. Maybe doubtful. It's a stress on your body because it has to then recover from that surgery. But you haven't changed your lifestyle and you haven't made your cells any better at adapting to stress. You haven't improved your, haven't increased your mitochondria level to have better endurance, to be more efficient at using fuel in your body. You haven't increased your muscle size. You haven't done any of that stuff. You just did the shortcut way, and that's not permanent. The only way to actually do it is through embracing a level of suck that you are uncomfortable with. And then next time, it's not going to be as bad, and you then chase that level of suck. And that is how you become a stronger, more resilient human. And that's how you manage stress in your life. Why are some people able to take on so much stress and they just seem to have all their shit together? Well, some of them don't. But the ones that can and kind of do have their shit together, at least somewhat, it's because they've been able to adapt over time to it. And you can start now. You can listen to this podcast and start now, and you will become, in a year from now, you will be a different person. If you are consistent, not perfect, consistent, you will be a better version of you a year from now. And the year after, you will be even better version of you. If you have not improved yourself in some way year to year, every single year, why? Why not? If I look back a year, like each year of my life, there is cringy shit I did. I'm like, why the fuck did I do that? Why the fuck did I say that? There's cringy shit that I've said or done. I'm like, that's stupid. Well, I now know, and I will have to go through that to know now, because I've become a better version of me. So you have to do the same thing for you. And that's, for a lot of people, that's going to start with exercise. It starts with doing a workout 2 to 3 days per week. That's the baseline. 2 to 3 days a week of a workout. Actually, no. Let me back up. It starts by going for a walk. If you're not getting steps in, you're very overweight, extremely overweight. You have 50 or more pounds to lose, and you're fairly sedentary, start with a walk. Start by going for a walk every single day. That's baseline. Then the next level, if you're kind of already doing that, then the next level is 2 to 3 days a week of working out. And then it increases from there. There's your baselines. You're probably going to fit into one of those two. And if you're not, if you're further along, well, what's something else you can add to challenge yourself every single week or every day? If you're already working out, say 4 or 5 days a week and you're listening to this, what else can you add? I talked to someone not too long ago, and she added the ice baths into her routine. And like I said, it sucked, and then she loved it and wanted to do more afterwards. Maybe it's a cold shower. Maybe it's sauna. Maybe it's just the foam rolling, because that is uncomfortable, or deep breathing. It can be any of those things. Challenge yourself in certain ways. Maybe it's doing a really long hike. It can be that, like, you've never really been outdoors. Well, maybe it's going for like a 6-mile hike in a fairly safe area and then progressing from there. That's another way to challenge yourself. Like doing sucky hikes. Yeah, that's a great way to challenge yourself. So without this going much longer, challenge yourself in some fashion every single week to start, and then try to do it every single day once you kind of get the weekly thing down. Like, what can you do every single day to kind of push yourself, challenge yourself, and move yourself to become a better version of you? Happy fucking Friday. Enjoy your weekend and go kill it out there.